Hi everybody, welcome to weeks actually 7 and 8. I combined the two because there's not a whole lot to really update on a Leo. But I got a few things that I definitely want to talk about. I just had a little bit going on this last couple of weeks, and so I wasn't able to get to making the video. It's very difficult for me to find time to do these videos without distractions, so we're consolidating the two. I have some information on the blog for this update, and if you get a chance, check that out. I wanted to talk a little bit about nutrition this time, and from some experiences that I've had in the last week or so. The only update I really have on Leo at this point is that he's accepting the drops so much easier. He was really fighting us, and now he doesn't mind them at all. In fact, he kind of asks for them sometimes, so he's doing better with that. The juice and the shakes are going great. Like I said last week, he's completely off Pediasure, which is a big deal. I've noticed some stabilization in his diaper area, which is a big deal. He's understanding a little bit better English. It's actually quite amazing. We told him that Daddy needs his shoes, and Leo's a little bit on a different planet. And when I tell him I need my shoes, he always goes and gets my shoes, but we never ask him to get Daddy's shoes. And so I pointed to Daddy's feet, and I told him Daddy needs his shoes, and he went and got Daddy's shoes. So, I mean, you may not think that's a big deal. That's a big deal. That's a very big, because Leo, he doesn't speak English. So that's a very big deal. We have an appointment with the homeopath this week. We're going to be getting some refills on some of the drops that we have. We're also going to be getting new treatment for this next month. Excuse me. According to the timeline, this month she is going to be clearing away the anesthesia that he had during his endoscopy. And so that'll be good. That'll be a nice cleansing for him. This last week, I showed you the video, kind of walked you through what sequential homeopathy does. And so, she basically cleared out the cold medications, and what we saw was the cold returned. That's evidence that the medication just suppresses the virus and it doesn't get rid of it. So that virus was still in his system up until, she cleared all that stuff out and was able to come out. And he did have a slight fever, runny nose, coughing and stuff. But, it only lasted like a day. So he did really good with that. And she's going to be clearing out the anesthesia, like I said. And I think after this month, she's going to go after the vaccinations. So that is going to be interesting because, I've read and seen stories where, people who've had their kids cleared of the vaccines saw major and dramatic differences in behavior and cognitive, recognition. And, so, I mean, we may be looking at a very eventful time. And who knows, maybe clearing out this anesthesia might be, might show some signs of stuff too, so. But, the endoscopy that he had, we took him in because his diet was gradually decreasing. And at the point that we actually got in touch with the GI, his diet had decreased to the point of just critical. He was only, at that time, he was only eating yogurt, donuts, even, I don't even think he was eating Oreos then, it was very limited. And so he had gotten sick. He had gotten, a tummy virus or something. He had gotten really sick. And because we all got sick. And at that time, I remember when I was sick, everything that I ate didn't taste right, tasted funny, and I think that that's what Leo went through also. And it made him turn away from the yogurt. Well, the yogurt went bye-bye at that point. And so when we had him in the GI and he wanted to do the endoscopy, we were hoping that nothing would come up, and nobody wants to see that. But evidently there was some swelling in his stomach. Now, the GI didn't tell me that the swelling was caused from the food he was eating. He said that, there was no way of knowing what was causing the swelling, and that it could be just inflamed from being sick. It could be inflamed from, just from the diet problem that he had as an infant. I told you he was on that Elecare. Well, what he didn't say is the problem. See, he knew that Leo was on the autism spectrum because we had already had him diagnosed before we even contacted that GI. He knew. And he even recommended the behavioral feeding therapy. So he knew that Leo was on the spectrum. What he did not say was that children on the spectrum often have swelling in their stomachs. He said that it resembled Crohn's disease. Now, me and Daddy were horrified when we heard that, because that's not a child, that's not a childhood illness. You don't get Crohn's disease as a toddler, right? And so we were horrified. And he wanted to see Leo, in a couple of months and do it again. And he put him on an antacid. It's their answer for everything, isn't it? Okay, so, all right, jumping ahead, I began the research into, dietary issues and autism, and the relationship between diet and the diagnosis is absolutely undeniable. Now, they can say what they want, okay? They can say it's vaccines, it's not vaccines. It's, environment, it's not environment. Autism is a puzzle, okay? And every kid has a different puzzle. Every kid is different, and so, what causes it in one kid may not cause it in another because, everybody is so unique. And so the diagnosis is unique to every child. There are some things that are common across the board, and one of them is diet, right? Nobody told me that. Nobody even mentioned that when we were discussing the swelling in Leo's tummy. They never said, he's on the spectrum. He could have a sensitivity to gluten. He could have a sensitivity to dairy. He could have a sensitivity to soy. You might want to back off MSG. Put him on a probiotic. Nobody explained that autistic children have, abnormal gut flora. This was not told to me, So, yeah, I'm ranting, I know. But I've had some experiences the last week talking to other parents. And let me tell you, I've talked to parents who are way on the same page as we are, right? Maybe not pursuing the homeopathic approach, but pursuing an all-natural approach, right? Which is, very similar. And they realize that the problem's in the gut, And so these parents are very supportive, and very insightful. Boy, I've got a lot of information from many of you that, are on the same page as me. Well, then there are these other parents, okay, that their eyes haven't been open to the things that we know now, right? Their doctors aren't telling them this, so it doesn't exist, Their doctors aren't saying, oh, well, he has swelling in his stomach because, no, they're not saying it. They're not hearing it. And so these parents are a little judgmental, and they tend to ignore, when you say, hey, have you tried probiotics? There's a lot of parents that are actually stressing because of behavior. And I know, I have two older boys that were both diagnosed with ADD, and, they were hyper kids, and they were only 19 months apart, you know, and so I understand when you have those days you just want to pull your hair out, you know, but I also know that, you know, given the right tools, you know, you can help yourself and your kid, you know. I don't understand why people push back against a natural approach, because, you know, the doctors are giving you synthetic medication. They're giving you synthetic advice, really, you know, because they're controlled by the pharmaceutical companies. You think they're not, you check into it. They are. You know, the doctor is going to say, well, you need this medication, you know, and he's going to tell you you need that medication because that pharmaceutical company is giving him money to tell you that. You know, and if you don't think that that's how it works, then you're blind. You need to open your eyes. That's exactly how it works. Now, I'm not saying that doctors aren't important, by no means. The medical profession has a purpose, you know, but just because they, you know, carry the little snake and cross on their shoulder doesn't mean they're, you know, necessarily smarter than everybody else. You know, some doctors aren't even aware of the amount of mercury and aluminum that are put in vaccines. Excuse me. You know, so all I'm saying is, you know, look outside the box. You know, don't settle for what your doctors are saying, because what's happening is it's what they're not saying. Okay? They're not telling you information that actually is vital. You know, when I think about all this time that I've been losing sleep and crying over Leo's dietary issue, now that I ran into some parents that were shocked that his not being able to communicate with me was not as important to me. You know, he can live without talking, okay? I worry about him not talking. There's a lot of risks that come with him not talking. But it doesn't do any good if he can't live without eating, okay? He can live without talking. He can't live without eating. That is my primary concern. And that has been my primary concern. He flaps when he's excited. He babbles. Sometimes I can't understand what he's trying to say. You know, sometimes it's like talking to a wall. I have anxiety when it comes to, you know, trying to predict an outcome. Okay? However, the most important thing is his diet. And I've watched his diet go to nothing. And if I would have had somebody just say, you know, studies are showing that autistic children have dietary problems, maybe I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. Maybe back when he was eating good and accepting new food all the time, excuse me, that I would have given him the kind of foods that would benefit him and not damage him. Because now we're working hard to restore his gut. You know, I spent the first 2 years destroying it, and nobody told me. If they would have said, you know, he had a protein allergy as an infant, it's likely he can't handle dairy. It's not lactose intolerance, it's casein. Put him on coconut milk, you know. Put him on something else. Something different. No, nobody told me. So, like every other parent with every normal child, he went from formula to cow's milk, right? Breakfast, he got oatmeal, he got fruit, he got yogurt, you know, all these things, dairy, gluten, nothing to help restore the flora in his stomach. Nobody said, hey, you know, put him on a probiotic. No. So I'm a little bitter. I'm bitter because I feel like what I am going through right now could have been avoided, and it wasn't. It wasn't avoided because nobody informed me. So that is why I am making these videos. That is why I'm keeping the blog. Not to promote homeopathy 100%, because I don't know if it's going to work either. I mean, I sure it will, because I have a homeopathic, friend, and I trust her and I believe in her. Plus I'm not a stranger to homeopathy. I've used it before. However, my main motivation behind doing what I'm doing is to inform other parents to look elsewhere for information. There's plenty of information. All you gotta do is read. Just take the time. Don't just listen to your doctors. I'm not saying ditch the doctors or ditch your ABA therapy. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is you have other options. And I recommend that you look into them for your kid. Do it for your kid, no matter how old they are. Do it for your kid. Okay, so having said all that, sometime next week or the week after, I'm actually going to do a video with an interview with my homeopathic friend. So if you have questions that you want to ask a homeopath, you can leave them in the comments below. You can leave them in the comments on the blog. You can email them to me. My email's on the blog. Because we're going to have a discussion, and you don't want to miss that. That'll be nice to actually be talking to an actual homeopath. So, all right, well, that's pretty much all I got. I just wanted to vent my frustrations. So be sure to tune in next week, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more to update. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, and I look forward to talking and hearing from each of you. Have a wonderful week, guys. Okay, so I thought I'd share with you how I normally make his juice. This is my juicer, and I have a bowl of kale, some blueberries, and I have in this chopped up peaches and apples, and a couple of halo oranges. See, a couple of little halo oranges peeled, and I got some peaches, and there's 2 peaches, 2 small apples, and 1 mango. The mango was horrible to peel and to cut, so if you have any suggestions on how better to cut them stupid things, let me know, because they're really sweet, and I think Leo would really like the flavor, and I would have loved to add more mango to it, but I only had 1, and ugh, what a bugger. Okay, so I'm going to juice his shake. I always start with the kale, and it's because when you're juicing, in case you didn't know, when you're juicing, there's not a lot of juice in the kale. So the fruit actually draw the juice out of the dry greens. So I'm going to start with the kale, and I also have blueberries. It's kind of the same thing. In order to get all the nutrients from the blueberries, I have to follow up with the fruit. So that is how I'm going to start. So here we go. Starting with the kale. I'm going to fill this whole thing up with kale. Usually I use carrots and broccoli and stuff like that. I give them a pretty diverse selection, but today it's just kale. Alright, so I'm going to throw in a couple of pieces of fruit to flush out the kale. And I'm going to turn it on. It's going to get real loud. comes out, you have this real pretty colored rainbow. See that? There's the green, that little dark orange in the middle, that's the little mango that I used. So, but I mix it all up. I put it in a jug and mix it all up. So there you have it. That's how I juice Leo's mega juice. This gives him all the nutrition that his diet does not. And here in a few, I'm going to show you how I use the juice to make his protein shake. So tune in for that, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now I'm going to make Leo's protein shake, and you guys have seen this before, where you saw Leo helping me do it. So this time, I'm going to show you how I make his shakes, and I make these every day. I only have to juice every other day, and here's why. Here's the juice that I just made. This is actually going to last him a couple of days, because not only am I going to add this to the protein shake, but I also add a little bit to every cup I pour for him of the shake mix. So he gets pretty much double the vegetables and fruits. And as you can see, it looks mucky, but I tasted it and it's real peachy and it tastes really sweet. So he'll actually like this. Alright, so what I normally do is I start out with the juice. And I put about 2 cups in. So he gets 2 cups of fresh fruit and vegetables. And then I add the protein powder, because the protein powder is really thick, and so I want it to blend up real good, so I'm going to add it next. And the juice actually helps the protein powder from sticking to the blades. Alright, there's the powder. I only use 1 scoop because he gets all the extra vegetables and stuff too. This is a probiotic, a raw probiotic sent by the homeopathist. And I'm going to add it to the shake. Now, the shake itself comes with raw probiotics, so I only add a little bit. So he's getting extra, but I'm not overwhelming him. Okay, so then I add coconut milk. Leo, like most kids on the spectrum, have a dairy intolerance, so he gets coconut milk. And I'm going to fill it up to half a liter. Alright, so it's at the half a liter mark. And I'm going to add half a banana. I'm only adding half a banana because I don't want him to be constipated. The bananas have a way of stiffen you up, so. And I always break it up a little bit to help it blend easier. Nice. Okay, so there's that. Now, I don't make his shakes. Leo makes his shakes. Yeah. So, yeah. So I'm just going to plug it in, put the lid on, and all I got to do is turn it on once and he knows that it's his job. Here you go. Such a good job. One more. Good job. Thank you. You did it. Okay, I'll unplug. unplug it. I'll unplug it. Thank you. What a big helper. He makes the best shakes ever. All right, so then I just pour it in this here jug. And Leo has a super shake. I won't blend again until tomorrow. And like I said, I only juice every other day, so I'm not even gonna do, I'm gonna juice in a couple of days, but. And this is how Leo gets his nutrition. So I know this is probably pretty boring, but I wanted you to see what I do on a regular basis.